take it.
Well, thank you so much for asking me to do this. I'm
Yes.
excited. So Jonna asked me to kind of share my story and talk about pursuing your God-given dreams. So I just want to share my story and hope that it will inspire you and kind of show you how what God's doing in our lives without us even knowing or seeing it. So I kind of want to map out um, from start to finish how God did it with me not even knowing, and now I can see it. So the theme of what I'll be speaking about is having patience as the pieces are fitted together. Um, so when someone asks me about my story, this is how I explain my journey. That my life has been like a puzzle. So for years, I questioned why I went through some of the things that I went through, um, especially like with my battle with scoliosis. I didn't understand. I couldn't see the future, my purpose, the big picture. Um, but as the years went by, I learned new things, experienced many things, and it all prepared me for where I'm at this moment in my life. It prepared me for my dream and my God given purpose. Without experiencing all the things that I did throughout this first 41 years of my life, um, I wouldn't have been prepared or wouldn't have had the ability to do what I'm doing right now. Um, so God, in His time, prepared me for this moment. Um, and He began putting the pieces together a very long time ago. Um, I couldn't see the beginning, the middle. I didn't see any shape or form. The puzzle made no sense to me. But now I can look and I can see the picture, my purpose and my dream. Um, I can look back and clearly see how God guided me. He used my struggles, He used my pain, my talents, and He created something beautiful. Um, I can look back and see how God orchestrated my life in order to get me to this place. Um, I'm working with scoliosis patients, for those who don't know, as a clinical assistant, helping them on their journey. Started a nonprofit organization called the Crooked Life Foundation, scoliosis patients who can't afford treatment. And this has all happened in the last 1.5 years of my life. So that'll be the story that I'm sharing today. And the scriptures that I want to um, keep in mind as we go through this is Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart, not on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your path. In Psalm 37:23, the steps of a good man are
Amen.
ordered by the Lord, and He delights in His way. Uh, those scriptures, reading them now, have a whole new meaning to me from where the place I'm in right now. So again, like I said, I can see everything in my life, how it's been perfectly orchestrated, and even my struggles were a part of His plan. And sometimes that's pretty hard to comprehend. um, I heard someone say God uses those who have been through the struggle to help others going through it. And that made sense to me. So how can one truly understand unless they've been through the pain and through that struggle? So for many years of my life, I didn't understand how and why I went through all that I went through and how that was a part of God's plan. I was diagnosed with scoliosis when I was 12 years old. It didn't seem like a big deal at first at all, but I was given a horrid, awful, bulky brace, and they said, here, wear it 23 hours a day. Um, I tried to wear it, but it was full. It rubbed against my hips. And face it, what 12-year-old wants to wear a brace every single day for 23 hours? There was no options for me for treatment other than surgery, and that's where they open up your whole spine and they fuse it together where it cannot move, and they put a metal rod in there. That was my only other option. So I was in a watch and wait period. So if my curve progressed somewhere between 40 and 50 degrees, then surgery would be looked at. So at 12 years old, nobody could just look at me and say, you have scoliosis. But time changed that. And in my late teens, somebody asked me one day what was wrong with my back. And that changed life for me as I knew it. From that time on, I worked hard every single day to hide it, to hide the deformity in my back by wearing oversized clothes. I never talked about it. I never told people I had scoliosis except for secret and prayer. I prayed for my spine to be made straight, but nothing happened. And I prayed for God to give doctors the knowledge for new treatments for scoliosis. For adults, surgery was the only option, and my doctor told me it was best for me to just live with it because there's a lot of risk and complications. And I can imagine living my life every day like I was living it, with the pain, physical and emotional, the postural deformity. So basically, my right shoulder blade was stuck out, and then my left shoulder blade was inward. It was concaved in, and the fear of it getting worse as I got older was with me every day. I felt hopeless, but I never stopped believing. So in my late teens and my early 20s, I had a strong desire to help others with scoliosis, but I had no idea what to do. I didn't know anyone else with scoliosis, and I wouldn't tell anybody that I had it. So even though I had the desire, I had no clue what to do. So it was just on the back burner for all of those years. So at 18 years old, I got my first job as an order filler at a warehouse. It was a hard job, but for an 18-year-old girl, it was some good pay. I eventually became a supervisor about 4 years later. In order to become a supervisor, I had to showcase many skills. So that was multitasking, problem solving, people skills. Well, after about 1 year of working hard to become a supervisor, you guys, a lot of you know my husband, Robert. He decides to share with me that he felt called to be a traveling minister. So I quit that job, and for the next 1.5 years, we did that. And during that time, I had to handle all the paperwork for him. I had to track expenses, donations, send receipts for contributions, file the required paperwork. And then during the end of that time, I briefly worked at a credit union as and got the banking side of things. In 2002, we stopped traveling, and my husband and I became youth ministers. I got a job at a local charity helping impoverished kids. It was the first job that I saw and applied for when I came back to the Kansas City area. The ad didn't say it was for a charity. It just said it was for the phone representative. I applied, I got the job. I went from a phone representative to a member of the leadership team. In doing so, I learned lots of skills and utilized many of my strengths. But most importantly, I learned how a 501c3 nonprofit organization operated. So I never thought that one day I'd be operating my own nonprofit. You can kind of see how this is all coming about here. And
right.
God's doing this, and I have no idea what he's doing.
Right.
So I was happy. I was content. Then one day, unexpectedly, something happened. Something that changed the atmosphere for me. And then it became a struggle to even want to be there. I enjoyed the work that I was doing, but I didn't understand why. And I kept praying and believing that God would work all this out for my good. So in the meantime, now we're up to 3 years ago, I was clothes shopping, which was always a horrible experience for me, trying to find clothes to hide my scoliosis. And that day it was worse than normal. I had a huge pile of clothes in the dressing room, and I cried because nothing would fit right. So I went home and I decided I'm going to get online. I'm going to search for new treatments. There's got to be something. And then this time it yielded a result. That what was even more amazing as the doctor was only 20 minutes from me. It's a rehab scoliosis treatment with exercises and therapies for adults. My birthday was approaching, so I made my appointment on my birthday. Now listen to this. Dr. Nick is one of only 34 doctors in the whole entire world who's doing this type of treatment, and he started his practice in Belton, Missouri shortly before.
Praise God.
So even though I prayed many years before for this to happen, it's happening right now. And I kind of look at it like God chose him, but he had to prepare him and take him through all the education that he needed in order for it to happen in his timing. But I started my treatment. It changed my life. After about 6 weeks, my physical pain was gone. My emotional pain began healing. And not only did I start talking about scoliosis, but I created a Facebook page to share my journey and help others, because there's so many others out there that think that there's no hope. So I just began sharing that. So I joined a Facebook group also called Scoliosis Warriors, finding people that needed hope and sharing it with them. And then I felt so free in my back, and now you can hardly even tell that I have scoliosis. Amazing. And all of this gave me confidence and boldness. And when I first started sharing my journey, I was so scared to put myself out there. I mean, I received positive feedback, but there's always the negative too. Right. But God used that, exactly. God used that to give me strength and knowledge when dealing with the negative people.
Right.
Yeah, I couldn't, in a support group, it's shocking sometimes the things. Actually, I got kicked out of one support group just for sharing my story because I didn't get surgery. It was crazy. As my life transformed, so did my mind. So all I think about, I'm still at the children's charity at this point. Think about was helping others with scoliosis and giving them hope, and it's my passion. I remember that feeling when I was young, desiring to help other scoliosis patients, and now things are becoming more clear. So about 1.5 years ago, the doctor that I was receiving treatment from offered me a job as a clinical assistant. I had been at my job, for, my current job, for 15 years. I felt financially stable, but I was so drawn to work with him. But it's my passion, obviously, but I had no idea how I could financially make it possible. It was a 50% pay cut. But I got with my husband and we prayed about it, because this is where my heart was,
right.
Helping other scoliosis patients. So and there's not like a lot of opportunities to do this out there. Again, he's only one of 34 doctors in the world doing this, and he's the only doctor doing this treatment in 200 miles of here.
Wow.
So we prayed, and we asked God to take care of everything. It was his will and plan. So we made a list of every single thing that we needed in order to be able to do this. So basically, our house would have to be paid off. We would have free, pretty tall order, right?
Right.
Yeah. And then also on the list, I had some pretty pricey things that I needed to be covered. I wouldn't be able to afford it quitting this job. And I'm telling you, long story short, every single thing on that list was covered, down to
Praise
the
God.
amount
Praise
that
God.
I needed. You just know when it's God. I mean, how does that happen? You know what I mean? Every
it's miraculous.
Yes, it is. And let me tell you, one of the things that I needed, I didn't tell anybody. I didn't ask anybody for it. Somebody I had never talked to before at 5 o'clock in the morning messaged me on Facebook and said, "I'm giving this to you."
Praise God.
Praise
God.
Now, Robert, he thought somebody died. So
you're cutting out.
No question.
You're cutting out on us.
Out?
Yeah.
better?
Yeah, you might want to stay closer to the.
Closer, like here?
Yeah.
Okay. Better?
Yeah.
Okay. So that was just another aha moment for me, where I could see the big picture and this puzzle coming together. And I believe that God allowed that situation on my job at the children's charity, the one that made it hard for me to want to be there,
Right.
because He knew that I was financially secure there, and I'm not huge on big life issues. So I think God allowed that to happen so I could hang on there, that I would follow His plan and purpose for my life. He was making it easier for me to leave
Right.
there. So about 1.5 years ago,
Go.
got the idea of a project to help scoliosis patients who couldn't afford treatment. I jotted the idea down, but I didn't move forward because I was scared. Scared of failure. What if I announced that I was going to provide so many scoliosis activity suits that are $1,500 each, and then I couldn't do it? You know, I was freaking out. But then God used this like 10-year-old kid to inspire me to move forward.
Praise God.
Yes, and now God, I mean, Robert and I are operating a charity called the Crooked Life Foundation, helping scoliosis patients who can't afford treatment. And in 1 year, we've been able to provide 9 suits, and now we're getting ready to do 10 suits. So it's pretty amazing, because that's like $15,000, you know.
Sure.
I mean, we started doing it, and other people started joining in. So God did it. So Rob and we're just God's feet. That's all it is. We're just a vessels allowing Him use of our vessels. It's God's work. I can honestly look back and say God did this. He guided me. He led me job to learn the needed skills and to learn what I needed to know for what I'm doing right now. And I'm currently using the skills from each job that I've had, and without, there's no way that I could do what I'm doing right now. It would be trying to do everything that I needed to do to start that charity, to run the charity, to what I'm doing at my job now. It would be overwhelming for me to do unless I had learned all of those things throughout my life that God brought me to. And it looks like Tina lost you, Jonna.
I'm here. Can you see me, Marce?
I can see you. You're not moving. It's just frozen.
It's frozen. You can still hear my voice?
Yeah, I can still hear your voice.
Okay. All right. That's cool.
Okay. Do you want me to keep going?
Oh yes, please do. Yeah, don't worry about me. I don't care if they see me or not. I want them to hear what you have to say.
Okay. So I had no idea when I started working at a charity 16 years ago that I'd be operating my own today. So if God let us know in advance of His plan, many of us would probably say, heck to the no way. He's too big. But God prepares us and the doors at the right time. So just like God, so here's where I think I'll relate it to the Bible. Just like God used my struggles to move me to my destiny, He did it for Joseph. So Joseph's brothers threw him into a pit, thinking they were stopping his destiny. So the betrayal was part of the plan laid out for his life. Without the betrayal, without Potiphar's wife falsely accusing Joseph, without him spending time unfairly in prison, Joseph never would have fulfilled his destiny. So God is in complete control, and there's no enemy to stop God's plan for your life. So I like something that I heard recently. It says, when we isolate a negative experience and look at it on its own, it may not make sense. When you have a large puzzle, sometimes you find a piece that doesn't look like it fits, and you're sure the manufacturer has made a mistake. It's an odd shape, a strange color, but when the pieces come together, it will have a perfect fit. Colors will match, the edges will line up, and without that piece, the puzzle wouldn't be complete. But It sums up my story. You may not understand everything, but trust God to order your steps. I encourage you also, when it comes to your ministry, don't put yourself in a box. A ministry isn't just behind a pulpit. Whatever
That's
you
right.
call it to do, yes, do it in His name and with God's love. What I do, my job at a daily basis, that is my ministry. And I'm going to end with one of my favorite quotes. Every attack is designed to make you a warrior. Every obstacle an overcomer, and every challenge a champion. So don't waste what you're going through. Become something great.
Amen. Love that.
Yes. Yes. Well, everything I've gone through, all my struggles has made me who I am today and the person that God is using. So that's what I had to share. Anybody
I love it.
questions?
Yes, awesome testimony. And I've kind of been watching the journey, and I'm just like, man, I am so proud of her, because even in the hard times, I mean, everybody has hard times. We know that's a given. We all have to walk through some hard stuff, but you always keep a positive attitude. And if I'm to be honest, I haven't always done that when I've gone through a struggle, but I've seen how your positive attitude, is helping others. But then, I mean, you're real about it too. You went through some things, but you tried to keep the faith through it all. And I think that's the big thing, even though it doesn't make a lick of sense, even though we're frustrated and confused and don't understand some of the stuff that happens, we never know how God's going to take that to the next level or use it later in life. And you're a wonderful testimony to that. So I think that's awesome. Anybody have any questions? You're getting a lot of compliments, words of encouragement. So that's awesome.